Over the past few months, Greg Norman has ramped up his offense against the PGA Tour. However, while his LIV Golf Series definitely has the upper hand right now, the Aussie's about to face some pushback from the golfing community as the R&A has decided to not invite him to this year's British Open celebrations. Why'd they ban Norman though? And what was his reaction to the news? Well, keep watching to find out. First up, Greg Norman's LIV shenanigans are finally catching up to him. Greg Norman's easily one of the most prolific golfers of all time, and when it comes to the British Open specifically, he's pretty much the top dog with his 2 major victories in the tournament. However, over the past couple of years, Norman's turned into a bit of a notorious villain among the golfing community thanks to his involvement with the Saudi-funded LIV Golf Series. Now, obviously we don't need to go over the whole saga again, but the bottom line is people don't like the fact that he's getting billions of dollars from the Saudi government to fund this tournament. Why? Well, according to the tournament's critics, the Crown Prince is using it to sports wash his way into good standing. Plus, there's the issue of golfers leaving just for the sake of getting that paycheck, which is never good for the spirit of the sport. Having said that, until now, Norman's venture hasn't really resulted in any tangible backlash other than some media criticism. Like, yes, his players got suspended by the PGA Tour, but anyone could have seen that coming from a million miles away. This weekend, on the other hand, probably marks the first time that the Aussies had to face the music for his dealings. And sadly for him, it's one that's probably gonna hurt the most, as it's the tournament that's been the shining star on top of his long and decorated career. Up next, why did the R&A ban Norman from the British Open? Now, if you don't know, the British Open isn't a part of the PGA Tour. Instead, it's operated by the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, also known as the R&A. And that's an organization that prides itself on tradition, respect, and legacy. After all, it's a 150-year-old British tournament, so you'd expect these things. With that said, if the PGA Tour had banned Norman from one of its events, that would have made perfect sense. Like, they've already suspended the LIV golf players, so it's only natural that they'd ban the CEO of the organization too. But why did the R&A, which again is an independent club, decide to ban one of its most successful champions from the 150th anniversary celebrations? Well, according to them, the 150th Open is an extremely important milestone for golf. So, to avoid any controversy or drama at the celebration event, they decided that it'd be best if Norman didn't show up. The official statement had a bunch more stuff on it though, like how the decision was based on quote-unquote preserving the championship and its heritage. Other than that, the golf club also mentioned in its statement that the 67-year-old's appearance would shift the focus away from the celebrations and in turn jeopardize the whole thing's sanctity. Oh, and of course, they didn't just announce it randomly without informing the Australian. As a matter of fact, they reached out to him beforehand to let him know. Having said that though, it looks like not all doors have been closed on the LIV chief, as the Royal Club also expressed its desire to iron out these issues and re-invite him to a future event. But wait, what does that statement actually mean though? Okay, so after reading the R&A's formal statement, one question comes to mind. What do they even mean? Like, the golf club deliberately skirted around the whole LIV controversy. In fact, they didn't even mention the organization's name just to stay away from the drama. Also, the statement was full of some super vague stuff, like Norman jeopardizing the sanctity of celebrations. Well, it's pretty clear that the statement was addressing the Saudi League controversy. It's just that they didn't want to mention it explicitly to avoid legal trouble. Besides, the whole point of the ban was to keep the LIV Golf's shadow away from the British Open. Why is the R&A trying so hard to detach itself from the Australian though? Is he actually gonna bring that much negative press to the celebrations? To answer that, we'd have to go back a few weeks in time and look at the US Open. Much like the British Open, the American major was also set for one of its biggest weekends, as the USGA welcomed banned PGA Tour defectors like Phil Mickelson. However, that decision may have kind of backfired, because literally everyone was talking about Norman's upstart league, which took all the attention and focus away from the fantastic action on the course. Plus, many golfers looked like they were tired of answering questions about the breakaway league. And, as a matter of fact, some of them even snapped during their press conferences and gave impassioned speeches about everything that's wrong with the LIV Golf Series. So, it's safe to assume that the R&A is trying to stop that from happening at the British Open's 150th anniversary. After all, if Greg Norman showed up to a ceremony, you know that he's gonna be hounded by reporters. Besides, who knows what new controversial stuff he could say during those impromptu interviews. Like, if there's literally any drama at the party, then all the tabloids are gonna hone in on the fact that it happened at the British Open, which is never a good look for any club. Now let's move on to Greg Norman's response. Over the past few years, Greg Norman's had all sorts of bad press thrown at him. And while he's obviously not done himself any favors by making controversial remarks, he's probably used to all the attention as well. Having said that though, it seems like getting barred from the British Open was a deep cut for the Australian, as he didn't seem pleased at all. Like, he's usually pretty smug after these things, as, according to him, it's just his aura that's intimidating his rivals. However, since this tournament's got a special place in his heart, Norman looked pretty pretty dejected while recording his response. In his statement, he said that he's disappointed by the R&A's petty decision and that he expected them to stay above it all, given their position in world golf. The 67-year-old then also made his case by saying that all he's done is promote and grow the game of golf globally for more than 4 decades, which makes this whole thing especially insulting. However, did Greg Norman do this to himself? Now, we've already discussed how Norman's one of the greatest players to ever win the British Open, which obviously makes the ban even sadder because at the end of the day, no one really wants to do this. Like, it's not like the R&A has some sort of special beef with the Australian that's led to this decision. Instead, all of this has happened just to protect the interest of the tournament. After all, the attention that the 67-year-old attracts is pretty unwarranted, but at the same time, it's not entirely Norman's fault either. Like, for all intents and purposes, he's just trying to fulfill his decades-long dream of creating a strong world tour to rival the PGA. Sadly for him, however, he had to resort to Saudi government's money, which is perhaps the only way he could have gained this much leverage over the tour anyway. Also, he's got a valid point in that the PGA Tour also continues to work with sponsors who are doing billions of dollars of business with the Saudi Arabian government, which again is a bit hypocritical. At the same time though, he's not exactly an angel either, as he's a clever operator and knows exactly what he's doing. So he probably saw this one coming from a mile away too. Oh, and let's not forget that the suspended LIV golf players like Phil Mickelson and Brooks Koepka are still allowed to take part in the British Open, which does kind of dilute the impact of R&A's statement. We mean, if you're gonna involve the players, why would you exclude the CEO? And finally, will Norman attend the next British Open? Of course, the R&A never said that Greg Norman's gonna be banned for life or anything. In fact, they even mentioned that they'd welcome him back with open arms once everything's been sorted. But what does that actually mean though? Well, you'd think that they're talking about him cutting his ties with the upstart Saudi League, but we all know that it's too late for that now. Also, it doesn't make sense for him to forego billions of dollars just to attend a party. With that said, if the larger golfing community does accept LIV Golf by the time that we arrive at the British Open again, then we don't see why he'd be barred from entering again. So for now, all we can do is wait and observe. And that's a wrap for this video. Will the PGA Tour and LIV Golf reach a coexistence agreement by next year? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. We'll see you in the next one.